I decided to prepare stew with fish and chicken for my family today. So I was like, okay, I think we need to have beans and rice with stew. So I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and start by preparing it because we're having it for dinner. This is when I was just trying to put things in order. While my baby boy came around, I was like, what did you want? So after that, I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and bring out the beans. This is the beans that I'll be using. So when I noticed that the beans was still in a plastic, I will have to pour it in a storage so that it will be easy for me while taking. While I was pouring, the market came around. I don't know, he was just showing me to assist him for his assignment. I was like, okay, hold on, when I'm through, I'm going to assist you for that. So I have to pour it in there and throw the plastic in the bag in the bin. So I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and check if the beans is clean because some beans that I normally buy sometimes some of them don't always be clean. I have to check it properly if it is clean. So when I noticed that the beans is clean, I added it in a pot and wash it. I have to use cold water and wash it and put it on the gas so for the beans to boil because I'm still going to wash it again. So this is the bell pepper and tomato that I'm going to use to prepare the stew. So I started by washing up the bell pepper. I have to remove the seed from the bell pepper. This when I was just removing the seed. After removing it, I have to put it in a blender because I was trying to cut off the tomato into pieces so that it will be easy to blend while blend. But if I leave it like they don't always blend fast, so I have to cut it into pieces so that it will be able to blend on time. This one I was just cutting it. So immediately I finish cutting it, I have to cover up the blender, the core and put it in a blender. This one it was just blending. I just let it to blend a little bit because I don't really want it to be rough. I want it to be smooth. So immediately I finish blending, so I have to pour in a bowl. I put in the cup back so that I can be able to blend the remaining one. So I add in the remaining one inside because it was not it was much. I cannot be able to blend it at once. So by then I went ahead to check if the beans is boiled. It happens to be here. The beans have cooked a little bit. So I have to wash it. This one I was just washing up the beans. I pour it in a sieve and wash it. This one I was just washing. After washing it, I have to pour it in back inside the plate. This is how I'm going to make the white rice and beans together. So after that, I have to set aside the seeds. I have to set it aside. I added some salt in the bean and cover it. It is time for me to wash in the rice. So I brought out the rice. I have to make sure the one that I want to use. I use about 3 cup. I have to make because what I use is also 3 cup of beans. I also added some 3 cups of rice. So this is it. I have to add some salt in the rice. I started by washing up the rice. I make sure that I wash it properly because I don't really want the starch to be much. So this one I was just washing. I have to wash it over and over to make sure that it's clean properly. So I use a little bit of hot water from the tap and wash it up so that it will be clean enough. This one I was just washing it up. So that's it. Immediately I finished washing it up, I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and pour it in the pot where the beans is. So after pouring it, I have to mix it up together so that both of them will done together. So after that, I have to cover it. So this is the fish that we're using for the stew. I have to butter the fish and added some water inside the fish for the fish to defrost because it was a little bit. So after that I have to wash it. This one I was just washing it. I put it inside the pot that I'll be using to cook it. I make sure that I wash it properly. Yeah, this one I was just washing it. After that, I have to check the head because I don't know the reason why. But this particular one, I think I'm going to use the head because I don't always like to put the hair while cooking because it always make my food a lot of bones. So immediately I finish washing it. So I have to pour in the fish back and wash it properly. I wash it over and over. So by then I was like, it's time for me to add onion. I have to peel in the onion and clean it up properly. I added some garlic, thyme, ginger, and also curry and salt and seasoning powder and mix it up properly. This one I was just mixing it up. So after that, I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and put it on the fire. I added a little bit of water and put it on the gas. So this one I was just So I was like, okay, let me just go ahead to check if the beans is done. I have to check if the beans is done. It happens to be the beans is have not really soft. I was like, okay, let me just put a little bit of water in the beans. I have to add some water and cover it. So it is time for me to clean up the chopping board that I used to cut the fish. So this one I will just clean up the, just I added some soap in and make sure that I clean it up properly, and also the bowl, and clean up all the sink, and also the knife, and set it aside. So I have to throw this some dirt in the bin. So it is time for me to check the fish. The fish is now ready. And also the beans, yeah, the rice and beans is now ready. I was like, okay, let me just put this fish aside because I'm going to be grilling the fish. This one I was just putting it so that it will grow. So after that, I was like, okay, let me just make sure that I take it one after the other so that it will not scatter. So by then it is time for me to fry the stew. This is when I was just adding the fresh tomato, the blended tomatoes and onion and vegetable oil, and also seasoning powder. So I have to mix it up together and cover it. So I went ahead to check if the fish have dry. It happens to be yes, the fish are dry. I went ahead, I was like, okay, I have to, yeah, I kept it aside. I was like, okay, let me just go ahead to check the stew. It's time for me to add in the stock. I added the fish stock. So this one I was just adding the fish in the stew. The stew is ready now, so I have to add in the fish and mix it up a little bit. I was a little bit careful because I don't want the fish to scatter. So this one I was just mixing it up the fish. So the our food is now ready, and I have to dish up the food for my kids. So now I was just dishing it up from one after the other. I have to call them to come and have their food. So it is time for us to have a thank you guys for watching. Can you like and also comment and